You know, as mayor, I get asked from time to time a basic question. Basic questions are always the hardest. Mayor, what are you about? And to the extent that people insist on breaking down my thought process to some basic principles, I try to answer the question this way. I try to concentrate on two things: education and jobs. In 2007, we are committed to improving education through Maps for Kids, and we are continually working to provide a community where the private sector can create jobs. We are creating a city where people want to live, and as a result, the job growth has been impressive. I'm confident that 2007 will provide its own success stories. Big or small, jobs are being created. You know, big companies are terrific, but we need to do more to empower the little guy with big ideas. We must break down the barriers that keep small companies from becoming big companies. We need to plant and nurture that entrepreneurial way of life. We need our residents and our young people first imagining and then believing that they have the potential to be their own boss. We need innovators. We need a next generation of ideas, a next generation of wealth, and a next generation of job creators. We have a choice. We can send a message that the road to prosperity begins with education. We can teach young people how to put together a business plan and teach them that there's no shortcuts to prosperity other than hard work and determination. Who has the ideas? Who has the willingness to work hard? Right here in Oklahoma City, Tracy McDaniel of KIPP Academy teaches his students that there are no limits on their future, no matter where they came from. And if a child in this city grows up believing that the best chance to their American dream is to join a gang or to buy a lottery ticket and get lucky, then we have failed. One thing employers will tell you about people in Oklahoma City is that we work hard, that we appreciate the opportunity to turn honest work into honest pay. We hear that over and over again. And to keep that work ethic alive, we must be diligent in removing the barriers that keep children from reaching their potential as Americans. Poverty is a barrier that can partially be addressed one family at a time by creating one more higher paying job. Language can be a barrier. And if you intend to live in Oklahoma City, you need to learn to speak English. Here in Oklahoma City, we're creating more classes teaching English to adults than ever before. These ESL classes are privately funded, and I want to thank U.S. Cellular and the Latino Community Development Agency for helping us to meet this need. And the third barrier is a lack of education. Maps for Kids is a great start, but I encourage everyone, regardless of age, to increase your education. And if there's a young person in your family, take the time to read to them. We can remove these barriers, and when we do, we'll have an even greater workforce to offer the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. We also need to ensure that the next great idea has access to capital. We need to ensure that the next great idea does not die in a laboratory or in someone's garage or find funding somewhere else and leave the state. Because of new technology, new types of jobs are being created daily. Here's something to keep in mind. Right now in Oklahoma City, by my guesstimate, we have about 10,000 kids in kindergarten. Now, some of them are going to grow up to have the traditional jobs: doctors, lawyers, teachers, journalists. But two-thirds of our kindergartners will take a job that has not been created yet. We need to make sure that they have the education and the technology necessary to compete in the 21st century. And the revolutionary approach of Maps for Kids is really helping to make that a reality. We are a city in which life revolves around getting into your car and going somewhere. Well, until this weekend. Here's a prediction about Oklahoma City. Ask the typical resident of our community to go around the block. And I challenge you that the first thing they will do is go look for their car keys. That dependence on the automobile is not all bad. Through the years, it's led us to create a great network of roads, and that network of roads is the envy of cities around the country. We have very little traffic congestion. There is more good news for us. Generally, the cost of gasoline is affordable, and that combination, that free-moving traffic and affordable gas, are key ingredients to our quality of life. We are very mobile. We go where we want, when we want. And in many of our peer cities, those days are gone. But we are kidding ourselves if we think this is sustainable long term. Traffic congestion is going to increase. Fuel prices are going to increase. And there are other costs to an automobile-friendly lifestyle. Although we remain one of the largest cities in the country, still in compliance with the Clean Air Act, that status is in jeopardy. The exhaust from the cars is polluting our air. 50% of our pollution comes from automobiles. Plus, our reliance on the car has created a sedentary culture. As a community, too many of us are overweight, and the increased cost of health care is weighing on our economy. Listen to this. By the year 2030, that's just 23 years from now, the number of senior citizens living in the greater Oklahoma City area will more than double. Now that is startling to me. Right now, we have 110,000 seniors. In 2030, we're going to have 231,000. So how does that change our city? Well, in many ways, but to highlight just one, it is going to demand that we have a better public transportation system. Now, public transportation means different things to different people. There is an inner city aspect of public transportation where you have a core of downtown that is served. There is commuter transportation that might get someone down Northwest Expressway or up Shields. And then there's the growing number of people that choose to live in Edmond or Moore or Norman or Choctaw or any one of the suburban communities. A lot of those people work in Oklahoma City. They need to get to work. There's certainly a tourism aspect to public transportation. But when you start sorting all of these opportunities into one idea, it becomes massive, it becomes complex, and it certainly becomes expensive. Over the past 2 years, we have completed an exhaustive, futuristic look at transportation in our community. Now, the plan includes 4 distinct methods of public transportation: bus rapid transit, commuter rail, downtown streetcar, and enhanced bus service. And if you care to see the details, and I really encourage you to look at them, they are available online on the internet. It's called the Fixed Guideway Study, and the web address is okfgs, for Fixed Guideway Study.org. Now, this conversation about public transportation needs to continue, but this much is clear. Public transportation needs to be addressed not only from the core, but needs to be addressed on a regional basis. The funding needs need to come from a regional basis, and it's not only going to be able to come from the metro, it's going to need to come from the state as well. You know, in the coming years, we're going to need to accelerate this conversation and move into action. We're not going to be able to ignore our public transportation problems forever. The study, the research is done for now. We're at a point where we need to start thinking about long-term implementation. What are we going to do about it? We live in a world that is changing rapidly, and it occurs to me that you can be for change or you can be against change, but you better not ignore change. Change can be rapid. You can pick up your remote control and you can change the channel. But you can't change your world by remote control. You've got to roll up your sleeves, you got to get to work. And ready or not, our city is changing. Now, one big change is coming downtown. Interstate 40, as we know it, is moving several blocks to the south. This represents great change, but it also represents great opportunity. The decisions we make concerning the land use and the new streets are going to have lasting effects on our city. Our planning process involves taking a look at the impact that the relocation of the interstate is going to have from the core of downtown all the way to the shore of the Oklahoma River. That's why the planning process is called Core to Shore. We are halfway through the process.